Hello and welcome to India Business. I'm Parikshit Luthra. Here are the headlines we are tracking this evening. Sensex and Nifty declined to end at their lowest level in a month. A sell-off in global bond markets worldwide rattled stocks. Borrowing costs in US and Europe rise to the highest level in over a decade.
If the price goes above $100 this thing, it's not going to be in the interest of either the producing country or anyone's interest. You will have large organized chaos.
Petroleum Minister Hardeep Puri warns of organized chaos if oil prices breach the $100 mark, but says India is well positioned to weather the impact. Saudis and Russia agree to extend production cuts till December. Crucial GST Council meet over the weekend. The Council is likely to deliberate on the proposal to levy 18% GST on corporate guarantee extended by holding companies and subsidiaries. Sources say that the Fitment Committee has turned down industry's proposal, seeking 5% tax on EV batteries instead of 18%. The Enforcement Directorate is not expected to be vindictive and must act with utmost probity, says the Supreme Court. The Apex Court rules that grounds for arrest must be provided to the accused in writing. Meanwhile, the Enforcement Directorate arrests Aam Aadmi Party MP Sanjay Singh in connection with the case over Delhi government's liquor policy. Enforcement Directorate also summons actor Ranbir Kapoor as it probes the Mahadev betting app case. ED claims large-scale Hawala operations using the platform to siphon off betting proceeds to offshore accounts. Ranbir Kapoor reportedly received payments for carrying out promotional activities. After the bankruptcy battle between Go First and its aircraft lessors, government moves to tweak the bankruptcy process. Corporate Affairs Ministry says aircraft engines and helicopters will be kept out of the IBC process. Lenders to Jet Airways question the source of the Jalan Calroc Consortium's funds to revive the airline before the Company Law Appellate Tribunal. Say the source of money is doubtful and could even be laundered. Lawyers to Jet Airways deny the charges. The government claims saving 10,000 crore rupees under the Farmers' Income Support Scheme after removing ineligible beneficiaries from the database. Sources say that the government may consider including landless farmers under the scheme or hiking the installment amount. However, no proposal has been floated as yet.
We need the good guys to come to talk to us, to tell us what are the malpractices in the market and to help us to craft solutions so that we address that, so that the good guys win.
SEBI Chief Madhvi Puri Butch urges the good guys in the investment advisory industry to come forward and report malpractices. Says 35% of the advisors are still not registered, and SEBI wants the industry to grow and hit 1 million investment advisors. 5 people are dead and 40, including 23 army personnel, are reported missing after flash floods in North Sikkim. The largest hydropower project in the state suffers severe damage as parts of the Tista Dam get washed away. A day after Delhi police raided NewsClick in a UAPA case, the media outlet says it is yet to receive a copy of the FIR or be informed about the details of the alleged offences. Journalists protest against the raids at Delhi's press club. Indian athletes secure the biggest haul ever at Asian Games. Neeraj Chopra wins gold in javelin and Kishore Kumar Jena claims silver. India's 4x100 relay team wins gold, taking India's medal tally past 80, which includes 18 gold medals. Let's start with the sell-off across stock markets worldwide. Bond markets in US and Europe saw a sharp fall, and this rattled equities globally. Sensex lost nearly 300 points and Nifty was down 80 points. Mid-caps got battered, with the index losing over 500 points. Now, the borrowing cost in US and Europe has surged to its highest level in over a decade. Lata Venkatesh is here to decode the movement in the US bond yields and what it could mean for stocks back home. Lata, over to you.
Yes, US 10-year yields, which is the benchmark for the cost of capital for the world, is at 16-year highs of 4.84 at the end of trade on Tuesday. Now, the immediate reason, the trigger was the JOLTS data, the job openings data. Vacancies in August were expected to come at 8.8. They actually came in at 9.6 million. That strong is, that hot is the labor market. And that was the reason. But, you know, that's only the immediate trigger. Yields are actually up 100 basis points over the quarter if you compare from July 1st to October 1st week. Now, the reasons for these are a combination of monetary and fiscal reasons. Monetary reasons, we know that the Fed became more hawkish when they met in September. They pointed out that there could be one more hike this year itself, which was not on the cards as well. The number of cuts in the dot plot were brought down by 50 basis points. So, which means the rates are going to remain higher for longer. But the bigger worry is fiscal, actually. The Americans discover with each passing month that the government is borrowing more and more, which actually led to that even shut down for debt reasons, if you remember. The fiscal deficit this year, or rather the shortfall in revenues, is expected to be $2 trillion against $1 trillion last year. Now, that gap has to be filled by selling more treasuries, selling more US bonds, and buyers are declining. The first buyer who is off the table is the Fed itself. The Fed in previous times, due to quantitative easing, was buying bonds. Now it is actually reducing its balance sheet, allowing bonds to run off from the balance sheet. Its balance sheet now is reduced by $1 trillion over the year. Every month it is reducing its amount of treasuries it holds by 65 billion. The next buyer who has disappeared are the Japanese. Japanese yields themselves have risen by about almost 1 percentage point over the past year. They are at 10-year highs. So the Japanese funds, which were big buyers of US treasuries, are not there. A lot of countries have stopped buying or at least are reducing their exposure to US treasury and to the dollar, especially after the Russian reserves were de-recognized. So for a whole host of reasons, the buyers have declined and supply is only expected to increase because of the spending by the Biden administration.
Moving on, oil prices are down after Saudi Arabia and Russia's pledge to extend production cuts till December were offset by fears that global headwinds would impact fuel demand. Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri has warned that there will be an organized chaos if oil prices breach the $100 a barrel mark. He made those comments while speaking at an event in Abu Dhabi. He, however, added that India was well positioned to weather the storm.
I hope it doesn't go beyond 100, because then you should not be worrying about the impact on India. India will manage. India is a large economy. It has a lot of domestic production. We'll cut back. We'll do something or the other. But I would worry about what happens to other parts of the developing world, the global south. It will reach the inflection point where the inflation, which is already around thanks to the stimulus packages, will result in this flat growth, large parts of the world becoming recessionary, and then it'll dip. You will see the same problem that happened in 2008. If the price goes above $100, this thing, it's not going to be in the interest of either the producing country or anyone's interest. You will have large organized chaos.
A crucial GST Council meeting is slated to be held this weekend. We learned from sources that the Council is likely to deliberate on a proposal to levy 18% GST on corporate guarantee extended by holding companies or subsidiaries. Jimsi Jaipuria is here with more details.
Well, in what could be a big blow for the industry in the upcoming GST Council, what we are given to understand from sources is that the Council is likely to deliberate on the proposal to levy 18% GST on corporate guarantee extended by holding companies or subsidiaries. Similarly, levying 18% GST on personal guarantee given by promoters or directors against loans taken or given by banks. Now, this is something that was indirectly already there for PSUs. In 2018, there was a circular that PSUs will be charged 18% in these two scenarios, but now the law committee nominated by GST Council, they had a case where a lot of these proposals were coming in for clarity, and now this is going to be applicable pan-industry. So the council nominated law committee is of a view that extending corporate or personal guarantee is a related party transaction and it should be considered as a supply. So given this, considering that it will be a deemed supply, 18% GST is warranted. And for ease in valuation, the Council is likely to consider bank commission as a standard basis to calculate the GST liability. Let's see how the industry actually reacts to this, because it is going to increase the cost that the industry incurs to obtain a loan. Back to you.
Thanks to that, Timsy. EV makers could be in for a disappointment. Sources say that the Fitment Committee has turned down industry's proposal seeking 5% tax on EV batteries instead of 18%. Request for uniform additional compensation cess on tobacco products has been turned down as well. The Cabinet has hiked the subsidy amount for the beneficiaries of Ujjwala scheme from 200 rupees to 300 rupees per cooking gas cylinder. After the Cabinet decision, beneficiaries will pay over 600 rupees for a 14.2 kg cylinder as against over 700 rupees earlier. The government's new urban housing subsidy scheme can generate demand for 50 to 60 lakh home loans in the next few years. That's the word coming in from SBI Chairman Dinesh Khara. In an exclusive conversation with CNBC-TV18, Khara added that the scheme could have a positive influence on the housing and home loan market as well. Moving on, SEBI chairperson Mahadev Puri Butch has revealed that 1 in 3 Indian investment advisors are giving guidance to small investors without registering themselves with the market regulator. Speaking at a conference organized by the Association of Registered Investment Advisors, the SEBI chairperson urged the good guys in the industry to come forward and report malpractices. She added that SEBI wants the industry to have 1 million investment advisors, but cautioned that there is a need to distinguish between fact versus fake claims.
We need the good guys to come to talk to us, to tell us what are the malpractices in the market, and to help us to craft solutions so that we address that, so that the good guys win. We want 1 million investment advisors. Let me tell you, it's as much, I would say not as much. I think it is clearly our failure that we have such a small set of investment advisors. Okay? And every new whole-time member who comes into SEBI, some of my colleagues here will vouch for it, every new member who comes in takes a look at it and says, why is this number so small? Why isn't it larger? And 2 weeks later, after they go through all the details, they're like, we can't have 1 lakh of these kind of guys, right? So that's the problem, okay? We can't have 10 lakhs of these kind of guys, but we definitely need 10 lakh of those kind of guys. We need the good guys to win, and for that, the association has to come forward and tell us what's happening, because by the time we otherwise get to know, a couple of people have already committed suicide in Indore. That's the reality.
The Supreme Court has urged the Enforcement Directorate to furnish grounds of arrest in writing while taking an accused into custody. The Apex Court made those comments while granting bail to directors of Gurugram-based real estate company M3M in a money laundering matter. In a stinging judgment, the Apex Court said that only reading grounds of arrest and not furnishing in writing reeks of arbitrariness.
I think the Supreme Court under the present Chief Justice is very keen on protecting the rights of citizens. Time and again they have informed the authorities that you have to be fair, objective, give an opportunity of being heard, and give your reasons in writing, because only when you give your reasons in writing that the accused can defend himself.
ED was not following a uniform practice in the entire country, which led to the Supreme Court to pass this path-breaking judgment to say that it is not sufficient for the Enforcement Directorate or the officer or the arresting person to actually only communicate orally or make the person read the grounds, because he may not be in a state in order to comprehend the gravity of the offenses, and it would not be fair, because what is required is that the person who's arrested has to be produced before the magistrate.
And speaking of arrest, the Enforcement Directorate has arrested Aam Aadmi Party leader Sanjay Singh in a money laundering probe linked to the Delhi excise policy case. This comes hours after the agency raided Singh's residence in Delhi. He is the third AAP leader to be arrested by a central agency, followed by Satyendra Jain and Manish Sisodia. Enforcement Directorate has summoned actor Ranbir Kapoor as it probes the Mahadev betting app case. The probe agency has alleged large-scale Hawala operations using the platform to siphon off betting proceeds to offshore accounts. Ranbir Kapoor has reportedly received payments for carrying out promotional activities. After the bankruptcy battle between Go First and its aircraft lessors, government has decided to tweak the bankruptcy process. In a notification, Corporate Affairs Ministry says aircraft engines and helicopters will be kept out of the IBC process. It has cited the Cape Town Convention of 2001 as the reason. Mahadev Mujawar is here with more. Mahadev, what does this really mean for airlines and banks? Also, what is the Cape Town Convention?
Well, Parikshit, this is a significant tweak to the IBC law that will have implications for the entire aviation sector. Let me first quickly tell you about the Cape Town Convention of 2001, to which India also is a signatory. The primary aim of the convention is to bring legal certainty for cross-border transactions, protect lessors of high-value aviation assets, which by their nature have no fixed location, and reduce risks for creditors and reduce the borrowing costs to lessors. The immediate case to point out here is Go First, where the DGCA rejected lessors' request to deregister aircraft as the airline was under IBC moratorium. Lessors of Go First had been complaining that attaching leased aircraft to IBC will increase their lending cost and thereby increase lease rentals for other airlines. Now, this was as far as Go First is concerned, but this amendment could change many things for the aviation sector. For instance, lessors may now be free to take their aircraft back in case the airline goes into bankruptcy. In other scenario, no lender will be able to take a company to IBC for defaulting on aircraft payment. Further, banks can't claim rights on aircraft if any airline goes into insolvency, like in the case of Jet Airways. And lastly, lessors may not be able to take an airline to court for defaulting on lease rentals, like in the case of SpiceJet. So this amendment of keeping aircraft engines and airframes out of IBC does change a lot for the aviation sector.
All right, important development there. Thank you very much, Mahadev Mujawar, for joining us. And sticking with the aviation space, there's a new twist in the Jet Airways revival saga. Just a few days after the Jalan Calrock Consortium said that they have completed payments to take over the airline's ownership, lenders have told the Company Law Appellate Tribunal they are doubtful about the source of money deposited by the consortium. The additional Solicitor General, arguing for the lenders, said the money could even be laundered. Lawyers to Jet Airways denied the allegations. Fashion retailer Superdry is selling its intellectual property rights in India, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh to Reliance Retail for £40 million. A joint venture has been formed with Reliance Brands holding in the UK, classifying these three territories as its South Asia intellectual property. Reliance Brands UK will hold 76%, while Superdry owns 24% in the joint vehicle venture. And staying with the FMCG sector, more price hikes could be on the anvil in Tata Consumer's food business as food inflation remains high. That's the word coming in from Deepika Bhan, President of Packaged Foods at Tata Consumer Products. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, Bhan said that the hikes will be measured and spread across the portfolio.
When you look at inflation, you can clearly see it abate in a few categories. You can also see it accelerate in a few. So, I mean, that's a mixed bag. If you look at rural demand, I think, August left us a bit worried about rain. That being said, September came in better. Now, the question is when you tie up the deficits, and depending on how the state-wise, monsoon count comes through and the impact it has on rural income. So that's a mixed bag. I wouldn't say it's necessarily poor, but we just got to see how that plays out. In order to ensure that we do have sustainable businesses in line with the table, we've taken up prices.
Domino's has cut the prices of its large pizzas by up to 50% ahead of the World Cup and the festive season. This is an effort to compete with smaller and newer rivals. Moderation in key input costs like dairy and cheese has allowed the company to pass on the benefits to customers. A CNBC-TV18 news break has been confirmed. IDFC First Bank has launched a qualified institutional placement to raise up to 3,000 crore rupees. The base size of the QIP is around 2,000 crore rupees with a green shoe option of another 1,000 crore. The indicative price is over 90 rupees per share, a 4% discount to yesterday's closing price. In what is a rare development for the Indian financial ecosystem, fintech unicorn Slice said that it has secured the Reserve Bank of India's approval for a merger with the Guwahati-headquartered Northeast Small Finance Bank. The merger follows Slice acquiring a 5% stake in the Small Finance Bank. Earlier, Slice shareholders will likely own a majority stake in the merged entity. And coming up on India Business Hour, a day after Delhi police raided NewsClick in a UAPA case, journalists protest against the raids at Delhi's press club. We'll get you more in just a bit. And you can also catch all CNBC-TV18's news and updates on WhatsApp, Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram and JioCinema. You're watching India Business Hour. Yes, you're watching India Business Hour. At least 5 people have died and 40 people, including 23 army personnel, are reported missing in North Sikkim. This after a cloudburst over Lonak Lake, triggering flash floods in the region. Search operations are currently underway. Chief Minister Prem Singh Tamang held a meeting with authorities to assess the situation. The largest hydropower project in the state suffered severe damage as parts of the Tista Dam were washed away. Right, day after Delhi police raided NewsClick in a UAPA case, the media outlet says it is yet to receive a copy of the FIR or be informed about the details of the alleged offences. Meanwhile, journalists gathered at Delhi's press club to protest against the raids. Shivani Bazaz was at this protest and got us this report.
Well, a day after the editor-in-chief and HR head of news website NewsClick were arrested by Delhi Police's special cell yesterday, a protest has been organized by journalists in New Delhi's Press Club of India. This protest was initially supposed to happen in New Delhi's Jantar Mantar. However, permission was not granted for the same by the Delhi Police. The protest has now moved to the Press Club of India. Journalists have gathered in large numbers and many notable faces here to show support to the journalists who were raided by the Delhi Police yesterday. Editors Guild of India has also released a statement urging the government to understand the importance of independent journalism. They've also said that the action against media and against journalists that happened yesterday is deeply concerning.
The centre has reported savings of 10,000 crore rupees under the PM Kisan scheme in the last year. Sources say that this was made possible by the removal of 1.72 crore beneficiaries who were deemed to be ineligible. Sapna Das joins us now. Sapna, what are you picking up?
Well, definitely the centre is seeing some good savings under PM Kisan, and that's basically because of cleaning up of the PM Kisan database. So we're given to understand that savings worth around 10,000 odd crores probably have been garnered by the central government in the last 1 odd year. And a large number of ineligible beneficiaries have actually been removed from the PM Kisan database. Around 1.72 crore is the number as of now. So this brings the PM Kisan database to around 8.75 odd crore. So this is what has actually led to those savings that we are talking about. Now these savings do throw up space for leverage for the central government if so desired. Basically twofold. One is, of course, if the centre so desires, can go ahead and make a major change in the scheme and include those sharecroppers and marginal farmers and tenant farmers, basically the landless farmers who have been a big chunk of the of the farmer populace, but do not get enough benefits, and they need to be looked at basically. So that is one category. However, to do that will be a major modification in the scheme, and it will be highly conditional upon states also to do their bit for this to actually go ahead. So that's one option. Second, of course, the government can increase either the tranches of installments under PM Kisan, say from 3 to 4, for example, or it can also increase the amount. Now, on both these fronts, there is no proposal yet. Nothing has been drafted, so to speak. It will have to be done, of course, by the nodal ministries, that is basically agriculture at its part, and then if required will go forward. So as of now, there is nothing concrete on the table, but this is what that 10,000 crore worth of savings under PM Kisan, this is the kind of headroom that it throws up.
All right, thanks Sapna for joining us with that very important story. In other headlines, the Bombay High Court took suo motu cognizance of 31 deaths at a government hospital in Maharashtra's Nanded. The division bench said that's due to shortage of staff and medicines cannot go on. This move comes after an advocate, Mohit Khanna, submitted a letter to the court. The Karnataka High Court has admitted the appeal filed by X-Corp, formerly known as Twitter, challenging the order that dismissed its plea against takedown orders issued by the government. This came after the government informed the court that it is not reconsidering the takedown orders. After admitting the appeal, the High Court listed it for hearing on the 9th of November. In international headlines, for the first time in modern US history, the House Speaker Kevin McCarthy was voted out of the job. The hard-right members of McCarthy's own party ousted him just days after he led a successful bipartisan effort to avoid a US government shutdown. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has unveiled a slew of policy changes ahead of next year's general election. Sunak has scrapped one leg of the high-speed rail network project amid mounting costs and instead pledged investments in other transport links. He also proposed to raise the age at which people can buy cigarettes and tobacco by 1 year each year in a bid to eventually prohibit smoking completely. Indian athletes have secured the biggest haul ever at the Asian Games. Neeraj Chopra has won gold in javelin while Kishore Kumar Jenna claimed silver. India's 4x100 relay team also won gold, taking India's medal tally past 80, which includes 18 gold medals. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you for watching. News continues right here on CNBC-TV18.